안녕하세요, 여러분. Michi Sam here, back with another video for you to help you become a good leader using English. Someone who can speak English confidently, fluently enough to be a good leader in business or in life, whatever the situation may be. That's what we do in these videos on this channel, 미친 영어. So subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And today we're going to talk about diplomatic disagreement. So how to say no without ruining the relationship, the business relationship or the friendship or whatever it is, right? We call that diplomatic disagreement. So disagreement, when you don't agree, because many times this happens, we don't always agree. And we shouldn't, right? You're working together doesn't mean you have to agree with everything the person says. Diplomatic disagreement, diplomatic is the word we use. Diplomat, it means someone who's in a position where they have to make many people happy, right? Being diplomatic means, you try to not make people angry. You try to be friendly enough and polite enough and professional enough that you make everybody feel okay, even if you disagree, right? We're going to disagree, but we're not going to fight. We're not going to argue. I'm not going to yell at you or make you feel stupid for your idea. How do we do that? That's what we're talking about today, okay? It's not easy, even in your first language, but it's really hard in a second language, right? If you're speaking English, it's not your first language, disagreeing might be something that you really have a hard time doing because there's two reasons. One, you might feel like everybody's talking fast in the meeting. I can't really get in. I can't really say my opinion. Nobody's asking me my opinion. That's one reason. The other reason, which I also think is a problem, is people are afraid in a second language to sound rude, right? Like, I don't know how to say that I disagree without being too rude because of the English, because of the language barrier, okay? I speak English well, but I don't know if I speak well enough to get the nuance right to make this person feel, so that they don't get angry or hurt or offended by my disagreement. And that's what I want to teach you today. I want to work on some phrases that we can use that will make it easier to disagree politely in a way that makes the other person feel heard and feel respected. Okay? So let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about the power of and over but. Okay? Don't always say but, that's a very big problem for people when they're speaking, even native English speakers, right? You're in a meeting and everybody's talking, giving ideas, and you say, okay, but, but I just think that's not going to work. But I think, okay, when you use the word but too many times, it just sounds confrontational. It sounds like you're always disagreeing, okay? Disagreeable. You don't want to be like that. You want to be someone who makes the other person feel good about their idea and then also include your idea. So including, instead of but, we use the word and, right? So try using and to build on their idea before pivoting. Pivoting means changing to your idea, okay? It feels much more collaborative, right? It feels like we're in this together, we're a team. So, you say, yeah, I like your idea. And also, I've got this idea, okay? So instead of but, I like your idea, but, no, I like that idea, that's good. And also, how about this one, okay? And is much more collaborative than but, and therefore it's gonna help you to be able to get your idea heard by the other person. Because let me tell you, if you say but, the other person already closed their ears. They're not listening to you. They don't want to hear your opinion because you don't want to hear their opinion, okay? And that's not true. You want to be collaborative, back and forth, like ping pong, like tennis, or just bouncing ideas back and forth, okay? So in order to do that, just switch the word but with the word and. Very simple way, and it will help you, okay? The next thing, we're going to master a couple phrases here. One phrase I want you to learn is, I have a slightly different take on this. Yeah, I have a slightly different take on this. It sounds softer much softer than I disagree, okay? So instead of saying, no, I disagree, or you're wrong, that's stupid, shut up, no, none of those. Say, okay, yeah, I have a slightly different take on this. And if you emphasize slightly, that gives it a little more, softness, right? Slightly different, just a little different take on this. Even though maybe your idea is very different, doesn't matter. Just say, I have a slightly different take on this. So a take on something means your perspective, right? Your idea, your opinion. But instead of saying, I have a slightly different opinion, which automatically makes you sound like you're confrontational or disagreeable, a slightly different take on this, using that phrase, it just sounds a little softer, a little nicer, a little friendlier. Okay, so try using that. Hey, listen, that's a great idea. I have a slightly different take on this. Good way to agree with them, but then give your opinion as well, which is slightly different. Although maybe it's very different, doesn't matter. Just say, I have a slightly different take on this. The other thing, a reality check here. If an idea is impossible, sometimes you're in a meeting, person just says something, it's ridiculous, not going to happen. It's not even worth talking about because it's so impossible. Don't say that out loud, okay? You might be thinking that, like, oh, that's such a stupid idea. Not even possible. Don't say, no, that's impossible. Or that's not going to work. That's very common. We say, I don't think that's going to work. Don't say that because then they get defensive, right? They're going to say, why? What's the matter with my idea? You don't like my idea? And then confrontational. We don't want that. A better way, say, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm just concerned about the feasibility of this. I'm concerned, that means I'm worried a little bit, about the feasibility of this. Feasible means it's possible. So feasibility means the possibility of this. In other words, I'm not sure that this is going to be possible. Okay, but it's just a better way to say it. It sounds nicer. Feasibility is better than impossible, right? Because the word impossible, it makes people feel, this is something when I first came to Korea, many people would say, I'd have an idea, I'd say, oh, I want to try this. And many people would say, in Korea, say, no, that's impossible. I always got very upset about that word impossible. So to an American, at least to me, the word impossible feels very, very offensive a little bit because I feel like you're saying I can't do it. But in my view, everything is possible, right? I think everything's possible. We could do it, sure. We just have to work hard, put our minds together, think through it, and we can do it. It's possible. Everything's possible. Now, is that true? Probably not. That's my worldview, and that's kind of how I approach life. That's how I approach work. For real, I'm talking about me personally. So when people said that's impossible, I used to get very kind of defensive, like, don't tell me what's impossible. I can do it. So instead of the word possible or impossible, try to use the word feasible or feasibility. Okay, it takes away that edge for some reason. Okay, there's something triggering about the word impossible I think to all people in America at least, but definitely to me. So I think many people feel this way. The word impossible, we don't like it. We don't like that word because, America, we're kind of like the land of possibility. Everything is possible. We kind of grow up with that mindset. So to tell us something's impossible, we don't like that. But if you say, I'm a little concerned about the feasibility of this, that I can say, yeah, you're right. It's probably not that feasible. Okay, why? I don't know. It's just a mind trick, okay? There are some words, probably in Korean too. If I use a word in Korean, it might make you kind of push back a little bit. And impossible is one of those words for most people, at least in America, I think, maybe other Western countries too. We kind of push back. We don't like that word. Okay, so use feasibility instead. That will help you. Okay, being a leader means making tough calls, tough decisions. Sometimes in a meeting, as a leader, you have to disagree with the other person, right? It happens all the time. But there are ways to do it that will make it easier, okay? And this video, I've given you some. I have many more videos like this on my YouTube channel where you can learn more ways to disagree with someone or agree with someone or negotiate with someone. All of these different topics I cover on my YouTube channel. So subscribe and keep coming back for more, and I'll see you in the next video.